Ah, my goodness. Okay, so this video is going to be a tad different. This is obviously much more casual. I don't really have a specific product to talk about or a build to do, so if you're looking for either one of those, then it's just not gonna be that. I do have something kind of exciting. Now you can see the tools that I have on my desk, and if you've been following me on Twitter or Instagram, you know what I've been working on, and that is custom sleeving. And when people told me that it was quite the feat that I was deciding to take on, it's not that I didn't believe them, I just didn't know the extent of the feat, I guess you could say. It was an experience. I definitely will be doing more because it's a very rewarding experience, and I'm so happy with how my first one came out that I definitely find a value in this. And I know there are tons of companies out there that do this. CableMod, obviously big one out there. They do a great job. You guys have seen the cable sets that I've used in my other build videos from EVGA. They were not my favorite, as I stated in those videos, but they did the job. They definitely gave you the ability to customize your builds more so with a modular PSU and a cable set that was really expensive. But obviously, I mean, time is money, so at that point I just wanted to pay the money and get a nice looking cable set, and that was accomplished in my bling build that you can see back there and in my black and white build. One thing I did notice is that still your colors and options are very limited. All I wanted was a pink cable set, and I couldn't find it anywhere. And I'm sure that I probably could have looked harder, or actually CableMod reached out to me on Twitter and said that I could custom order a set through their website, but I ended up deciding to go my own route and just learn to do it myself. And there are quite a few guides and videos all over the internet, some more thorough than others. What I ended up doing is pretty much watching videos and reading everything I possibly could get my hands on for the past week, putting everything together, and then kind of going from that. And that information kind of led me, or allowed me to put together my own kind of way of doing it, in a sense, just because some of the ways that they describe kind of leave out little parts and kind of leave you hanging in a way. So having as much information as possible is always the good thing. So without further ado, cable set that I ended up making was not even pink, go figure, but it was purple, and this is how it came out. So obviously this is my first time doing this, my first one. It's not perfect. I mean, am I happy with it? Yes. Am I going to be putting it in a build? Probably not. I honestly just don't even have a build to put this in right now. Maybe I do really like this color scheme. You can see, I don't know if it'll focus on it. You can see the color, it's like a purple and white. So I really like that. So I'm glad I went with that. It's really pretty. And then I put the cable combs on it to kind of keep it together. It looks like not everybody does that, but you can definitely train the cables to go in the direction you want and kind of look the way you want. I kind of like the way the combs look. I don't know if you guys agree. I think it just makes them look neat. This is just an extension, so obviously it's not a full set. It's just an extension, so you can just plug this into any 24-pin power port on the end of a cable from a power supply, and plug the other end into the motherboard, and it'll work the same. So essentially the boring side will be in the back in cable management, and then this would be the only part that's showing. So it's just an extension. I would say I started this project yesterday evening, probably did a couple hours yesterday, and probably put in about, oh man, maybe like 5 or 6 hours today. It definitely was a lot of trial and error. I mean, you can just see on my desk, I just have a ton of failed attempts, ones that were too short. I ended up burning the tips too much or cutting not enough. a lot of trial and error, and also this stuff is just not easy to work with. When you put the pins in, unfortunately, I made the mistake of cutting, and you can kind of see on some of these, I cut the paracord too short, so you can see the wire. It's a white wire, so it's not too bad, but you can see the wire. But also what was happening is when I would push it into the connector, it takes a lot of force to push it in there, especially the male pins. So when I would push it in, sometimes the paracord would detach from where I had melted it to the wire into the terminal. So then it would be completely loose. So that was incredibly frustrating. Unfortunately, I learned that on my second pin here. And what ended up happening is that I used this tool to put it into the hole, and there's two kind of brackets that you push in, and then you're supposed to be able to pull it out. Well, let me tell you, it is not that easy. It is incredibly difficult. And this tool I didn't even end up using it. What I ended up using was sewing pins. So I put 2 sewing pins on the inside here, and well, actually what ended up happening is I pulled it so hard because I had that tool, and I ended up pulling so hard on this side that the wire came out of the terminal. So then I was stuck with the wire being useless, and then the terminal was still inside the connector. So then I was stuck with trying to figure out how to get it out. You can't fit tweezers in here. You can't really fit anything. It's so small. These don't really help at that point. So I was back to using the sewing pins, and then I think what I did was I stuck a pair of needle nose pliers and just pushed down on the tip of the male pin, and I tried that I don't know, 10 times, and finally got it to come out. I literally spent about a half hour just trying to get that one terminal out of the connector. So that was incredibly frustrating, but what I did learn from that is that you have to be really, 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 really sure that one, the terminal connects to the wire, holds onto the wire perfectly, and that also the paracord is melted enough where it's not going to come loose when you're pushing it in. I, for the most part, got most of that right going forward, but there were definitely a few more where it happened again, and I kind of just kept going instead of trying to pull it back out. At that point, it was just, I didn't want to fight with the pins again because it just took so much time. So like I said, this is definitely not perfect. It's a work in progress. You can see that my melting was definitely not good on the male end, but on the, well, on that female end, it looks like I kind of got the hang of it a little bit better. But what I ended up doing is I ended up realizing that if I cut the paracord a little bit longer, when I melted it, it would recede less. So of course that kind of makes sense, longer paracord. So that ended up helping a lot. But then the unfortunate thing about that with paracord is that it's a little bit thicker, so it's harder to get in the connector unless you have it melted down pretty well. So that was another hard part when I had it all together and then I was trying to fit the last pins in here. So definitely a little lessons learned, and I think the next one will hopefully come out better. I have a lot more ideas planned, but one of the reasons why I wanted to do this is because you guys know I love building computers, and one of my main issues is that, you know, everybody wants like an i7 in every computer. And so if you guys are gonna not care about the specs, then why don't I just put an i7 in everything? It's obviously not gonna happen. I'm still gonna explore processors. I'm just saying for the sake of example, or I could just do that and then customize them to my heart's content. So that's probably what's gonna happen. You're gonna see a lot more builds that focus more on the aesthetics and the look and my ability to customize, and I have a whole bunch of DIY ideas to do that. You know, I've taken from other YouTubers or the internet, Reddit, all over the place. So that's gonna happen for sure. So one of the things I had to do then was to learn how to make my own sleeves, because I didn't want to just cable mod everything. I wanted the ability to do all of the DIY inside the builds, because that's kind of half of what this channel is about. It is about the DIY and the aesthetics of custom building. So, and of course the other side being the technical side. So having said all that, as I keep playing with this, my brain is absolutely fried. My eyes were definitely a little cross-eyed just from staring at this thing all morning, especially. It definitely, like, I don't know, it wore me out. Like, I actually feel tired doing this. It took a little bit of brain power, but honestly, I kind of enjoyed the process. I just put on a few movies, like literally I went through like 3 movies, and just kind of tuggered away at it. And I kind of did like a group at a time. I broke it into 12 and 12 because these are one of the ways you get this rainbow effect is by having the cables at different lengths. So the longer cables, the outside are 9 inches and the ones inside are 8.5. And that kind of gives you that curved effect. I don't know if I'm gonna do that for the next one. I don't really know what to, I guess if it was just, they were all 9 inches, then it'd be flat. But the problem is when you put it in the build, then you're gonna curve it and then they're gonna kind of bend in on each other. So this, I actually saw those dimensions on a video from PC Part Picker. That is one of the best videos on YouTube about how to put the cables together. So those dimensions seem to work, at least for extensions. We'll see how it goes when I do a full set. I'm definitely gonna be doing a full set coming up in one of the future builds. So look forward to that, and it's going to be in a modular PSU. I don't know what else to tell you guys. If you guys want to see the tools that I worked with, so this is the torch that I use. It's really important. I know some people use a lighter. The problem I had with the lighter is that whenever it hit the flame part of the flame, then it would cause like burn marks. But with this, it's flameless. I don't know if you can see that. It's flameless. So the burn is really hot, so it would just like melt it right away without leaving actual burn marks. Although it did some on the wire sometimes if I accidentally had the wire showing. Then I had these. These were absolutely useless. I didn't really use these at all. I think this is for pushing it through the paracord. Didn't need that. And then this is for removing Molex ports. I'm not doing any Molex, so I don't even know why I got that. Needle nose pliers, clippers. So these were really handy when cutting the actual paracord. The crimper that I used, honestly, this is the second crimper I got. The first one I got was wrong. This one I saw in other guides. I don't think it's ideal. I use a 16 gauge wire, and this goes to 18 gauge, so it probably was not ideal, but it did the job. There are definitely little tricks that I learned the further I went of how to put the actual terminals into here and get it right, because a few times it would kind of fold over, it wouldn't crimp right, or it would just, I don't know, it just didn't work too well. So I've seen other ones online that say they're 16 gauge, but they look exactly like this, so I don't know if that's even, if it's like being a gimmick or something. Anyway, it worked fine enough. Then I had this for stripping the wires, so this is really handy. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but instead of like doing like a hand stripper, which I thought would get really tiring, you just put this in here, and I have it at, I was cutting it about 1/8 of an inch, and then you just kind of pull the trigger, and unfortunately the little thing goes flying, but then I get a little perfect, do a makeup thing, a little perfect strip there, and then that would go in the terminal. So that worked out really well. It was a lot easier using this. This was pretty expensive. I think it was like $45, $50, but well worth it. And then just some old wire cutters for cutting the actual wires. And of course I just used a ruler. So the good thing about a ruler is that it has this middle insert kind of thing. So what I would do is I would just line the wire up like that, and then cut 12 at 9 inches and 12 at 8.5. Of course my ruler is backwards, but you guys get the idea. So that worked out really well. And then the same thing with the paracord. The paracord, just like this. So the paracord that I got, unfortunately I threw it all away, is actually just paracord. It's not specific for custom sleeves. You can get nylon sleeving or other types of sleeving that are a little bit more specific to PC sleeving, and those I have not used, but I've heard that they are better. And I think they come cordless. So one thing about paracord is that it does have the cord inside this cord, if that makes sense. So there's actually like strands of cord in here. So hence it's why you can buy cordless. This is not cordless. So the first thing I did was pull out all of the inner cording, and I wish I had that laying around so you could see. It was a lot. I think I threw it all away because it literally, I had only 25 feet of this, which is one of the reasons why I did extensions. Yeah, I didn't really think about the math, but when you have 24 pins or 24 cables that you need, then 25 feet is not gonna go too far. So that's the reason why I only did extensions this time with this guy. But I did have a bunch left over because obviously these are not a full foot long. So, so anyway, the paracord, you have to pull all the cord out. So that took a long time. But once I got it out, I was kind of happy I did it all in. I did it while it was together. I cut it in half of the lot the first time and pulled out, and then the second half. And that was a lot easier than doing it like cut it and then do it, cut it and then do it. I just felt it was pretty simple to just pull it all out together. It only took a couple minutes. But yeah, so that's the paracord. The paracord, I mean, the coolest part about this is that there are like hundreds, if not thousands, of color combinations of paracord. But that, I mean, there is definitely drawbacks to that, and that it's not the easiest to work with. It frays really easily, and there's just a lot of little tips and tricks that I don't know if you guys want an actual video, maybe the next time I do this video, but like I said, I'm so new to it, it probably would not be a good idea. I probably want to wait for the experts. But what I would do is I'd strip it, and then I'd put this terminal on, say like the male terminal, I'd put that on and crimp it. And then some people I saw would crimp both ends, but what I found with that is that it was really hard to push through the paracord once both ends were crimped. So I would crimp one end and then put it through the paracord so that way it would go on really easily. And then I would crimp this end, and that would be a lot faster. And then of course you have to stretch the paracord and make sure it's all perfect length. And then the hardest part, honestly, is the melting of it, because one, it doesn't feel too good, and two, it's just not, there's just not, I don't know, a good way of doing it, I guess you can say. So what I ended up doing is I had like a small cloth on my lap where that it was wet, and I would rub my fingers on the cloth and then kind of rub it on here, because I didn't want my fingers to be too wet, but it was really hot. So when I had a little bit of moisture on there, it would definitely cool it a little bit more so that I could touch it. Another thing you want to be really careful is when you do have the terminal, when you are putting a hot flame on the terminal, it makes the metal very hot. So my fingers definitely suffered a little bit. You can see they're a little red. This hand too. It's just, I mean, unfortunately, it's just one of those things that if you don't want to burn your fingers, then you don't want to do this. You're going to. I'm sure I'll develop maybe some calluses and get a little bit better, but yeah, the thumb is not too happy. They just feel kind of a little tender and a little dry, but I'm really not too worried about it. And it really wasn't that bad. Just a few times when I would grab the metal that I kind of instantly regretted it. So yeah, the terminals come in these little packs. It seems like I ordered from a website, Mainframe Customs, and but it seems like a lot of them come in these 5-count packs, kind of. So these are the male pins. So they come like this, and you just bend them off. Pretty simple, super cheap. So that was pretty handy. And then got a bunch of just different connections like this. I definitely did not get enough, which is kind of why I scrambled so hard getting the pin out of here that I was talking about that I got stuck. Scrambled so hard getting that out because this was the only one I got. So lesson learned with that is always get more than you think you need. Oh, and last thing, so obviously when you do this, you want to make sure that it works. So to make sure that it works, what I did is I have this power supply tester that's really handy. If you ever want to test the power supply, you want the easiest way to do it, then I would definitely recommend getting one of these. Just a handy little tool to have in your arsenal. So all I had to do was plug it in just as you're plugging into like the motherboard or the power supply. So literally just plug it in, and that's always a good sign, is at least when it fits. And then I just had a power supply. I guess I can show you guys. So literally just have it's a Corsair GS600. Honestly, I have no idea how old this power supply is. So now it's connected, so this is what it looks like as an extension. So obviously this part would be in the back in the cable management part, hopefully of your computer if you have that, or in the PSU shroud. And then powered on, and we have beeps. So awesome. Just for the sake of not having the beep yelling at me that something is missing, I'm gonna plug in the CPU power as well. So the 8-pin connector, and powered on, and okay, we're good. Alright, so that kind of wraps up this video of talking about the extensions that I made. Oh, I broke it. I thought I heard a snap. I broke the comb. Well, that's a bummer. That's okay, some super glue and it'll get back together. And anyway, so yeah, thank you for checking out this video. If you guys like this video, definitely let me know. If you don't like it, I'm sure there'll probably be some people that don't like this type of video. Let me know in the comments what you guys think, and if you want me to cover more of doing the extensions, or maybe want to do a full set, or just going forward, or I probably should get a few more under my belt just to kind of get it a little bit better. I don't want to lead you guys in the wrong direction, but sometimes it's fun to see the process too, see where somebody starts and then where they end up. So I can understand that too. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like, and if you want to see more, then definitely subscribe. And thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more between videos, then definitely follow me on Twitter and Instagram, where I talk about all different kinds of things, including these and other tech and all kinds of various things. Anyway, thanks guys, I'll see you next time.